Hi friends, I'm Katie Brinkley and you're listening to a Rocky Mountain Marketing Quickcast. These bite-sized episodes are released every Thursday and are going to give you the latest news and tips in the world of social media that are happening right now. Let's dive into today's Quickcast episode. Welcome back to another Rocky Mountain Marketing Quickcast. I'm your host, Katie Brinkley, and I love these Quickcast episodes because I'm hoping that you can get a bite-sized bit of inspiration or education and quickly implement it into your workday. I love reading and continuing to learn. It's one of the best ways that it really inspires my content creation and what to work on next. And one of my favorite newsletters that I subscribe to, I actually came across this individual on Twitter, and he goes by the alias of NFT God. And it got my creative juices flowing, which is the whole point, right? And so I like to share some valuable insights with you that he shared in his newsletter and really inspired me for this Quickcast podcast episode. So he starts things off with the hub and spoke model. And this model is centered around creating a hub piece of content, like this podcast here, or a long form blog post. And when you have these longer pieces of content, man, the world is your oyster. You have so many opportunities to then take them and turn them into smaller spoke like content, like social media posts or short form videos, or like a YouTube video, like what this is. And for me, obviously it is my podcast. That is my hub, but I also have a blog. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to head on over to nextstepsocialcommunications.com/blog. And I'm honestly, after reading this article, I was like, man, I'm kind of duplicating my efforts here. I don't know. I mean, I love both mediums for pushing out content, but I essentially have two hubs that I then can create spokes of content out to. And if you have an article on, let's just say 5 side hustles that you can use to, generate more money, you can then create individual posts for each hustle and then share them over the next few weeks. I do this with a lot of my clients, actually. So one of my clients, he also has a podcast. And man, we have so much content from it because we're creating a short form video, we're creating a carousel post, we're creating a link to the actual episode. That's 3 pieces of content. And if you're only posting 3 or 4 times a week, man, that's so much content that's come from one podcast episode or from one blog post. This hub and spoke model really allows you to maximize your content output, and you're not having to start from scratch each time. I also want to talk about stealing like an artist. And this concept comes from a book by Austin Kleon, which encourages creators to draw inspiration from others in an ethical way. Basically, exactly what I'm doing here from NFT God with his newsletter. And the saying goes that there is nothing new under the sun. So to find inspiration, consider listening to a podcast, subscribing to newsletters from creators that you value their opinion, reading books, attending conferences, taking notes. One of the best ways that I've found taking notes, there's a tool called Notion, and that is an absolute game changer. It helps you keep track of all of your ideas as you're consuming content. So steal like an artist. Take somebody else's piece of content and think about how you can create from it, how it applies to you and your business, and how you can then inspire those that are in your world. Sometimes getting the best source of inspiration comes from yourself and your past content. I know a lot of people might say like, oh, well, there's no way that I could share this picture again. We've already shared it. But As much as we'd like to think that people see every single post that we put on our social medias, they don't. And the recent, stats on Instagram are just telling for how much of our audience actually sees our content. For a while there, it was pretty standard for me to get around 3,000 to 4,000 views per reel that I did. Man, this girl, I'm lucky to get around like 500 views anymore. And I have around 7,000 followers. So if I wanted to share some past content, I know that not all of my followers are seeing every single piece of content that I push out there. And go back and look at what some of your previous work was or what some of your past social media posts were. It might help you spark new ideas, and you can find a different way to share that with your audience. If you want to go back to a past blog post and turn it into a podcast episode, if you want to, vice versa, take a past podcast episode and turn it into a blog. Look at some of your social media posts from 6 months ago and feel free to share that post again. Change up the caption and change up the call to action. If you want to be really organized, you can do this very easily by just creating a Google spreadsheet. And you can track which posts perform the most, perform the best. One tool that I really like, and here's a little nugget for you, is a tool called Metricool. I've been using them for a few weeks now for myself and for a number of my clients. And it basically gives you your entire spreadsheet of which posts get the most likes, the most replies, the most comments, you name it. And you can take that post and replicate it. It is a great tool if you're interested in it. I'll include a link here in the show notes, but it's called Metricool. And if you take the time to actually look at your data and analytics, it makes it so much easier for you to create content because my audience really likes it when I do trending audio and I make a silly face or something. You can replicate those new ideas and you're not having to start at square one again. Another strategy is finding new angles for your existing content. So again, if you write a blog post on copywriting tips, you could create another post focusing on formatting tips. One of my clients is a lawyer, so we talk about maybe we'll talk about like divorce law in one post. And then we want to talk about it, from a different angle on the reasons why. Divorce is a kind of a hard one that I don't know why I chose that one, but you get what I'm saying. You can find different angles on how to talk about the same thing. And if you say, okay, Katie, this sounds fine, but isn't repurposing content kind of repetitive? And yes, but it still offers valuable perspectives for your audience. Remember, as you grow and learn, your content is going to naturally improve. So don't be afraid to revisit old ideas and apply the lessons that you've learned to create even better content. So we talked about the hub and spoke model. We talked about stealing like an artist, drawing inspiration from yourself, and then finding new angles on past content. These techniques are designed to help you avoid sitting at the computer or sitting there with your phone saying, gosh, I know I need to post on social media today, or, I keep hearing that I need to be creating more content, but I'm just not creative. And all I see is this blank screen and a flashing cursor saying, okay, I'm ready. And I get it. Creating content can be super hard, but it doesn't have to be. By implementing these systems that I talked about in today's episode, you're going to be able to produce a continuous stream of content ideas. So I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your favorite ways for creating content? Do you use one of these systems already? Let me know. Connect with me over on social media. I'm on Instagram at I am Katie Brinkley. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Katie Brinkley. I love hearing different ideas. And from being at Social Media Marketing World a few weeks ago and going to these different conferences and networking and hearing from other people that are in my world or just a couple steps ahead of me or even people that aren't in my world. That's how this podcast started, was by hearing from other entrepreneurs and hearing what worked for them. What is it that works for you? How are you able to find new ways of creating content? And I'd love to hear what your best tips are, and maybe I'll make another podcast episode about it. That's it for today's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing, this quick cast episode. Remember, overcoming writer's block and creating content doesn't need to be hard when you have the right systems in place. Give these strategies a try and let me know how they work. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. Make sure to subscribe so that you can continue navigating the world of entrepreneurship. And I'd love to hear from you. Please leave the show a review and connect with me on social media. You can find me on Instagram at I am Katie Brinkley or connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you're ready to start making some sales on social media, be sure to grab my free guide to selling in the DMs without being spammy. You can get that at katiebrinkley.com. Let's keep taking your marketing to all new heights.